Today is the 22nd of September. It's the date for the GST rates. The GST rate cuts are to be rolled out, and it's also the start of the festive period. Mr. Vaidyanathan, Mohit and Santosh, great to have you join us here on Reforms Reloaded. My very first question to you, Santosh, how many Mercedes cars have you sold since morning?
Well, I landed, and before I came in, I went to our dealership on the way, and I think the excitement is palpable. You can just feel it. Our expectation is the next 8 days will record the highest ever per day car sold in history in India, for sure.
That's good to hear, but there's also a lot of pent-up demand, right? Because August was virtually no sales.
That's true, that's true. To be fair, August till 22nd, it was almost brakes on sale, so all of this has to be recovered, so for sure. But I think there is a lot of optimism that even the festive period starting October 2nd, the Dasharas and Diwali should deliver even a double-digit growth if possible.
Double-digit growth if possible, but how much cheaper have the cars gotten? Because for the auto sector, the cut has been significant. I mean, for the the smaller cars, the cut is from 28% to 18%. For cars like yours, you're 40%, but no cess. So what does that now result in on an average in terms of price cuts for you?
So average cuts are close to between 5 to 8%. So average for us in luxury segment will be around 6%, which is translated to the customer. So yeah, that's substantial when you look at in rupee terms, somewhere around 1.5 lakhs to 10 to 20 lakhs.
1.5 lakhs to 10 to 20 lakhs. But does the rupee move impact you, or is it likely to impact you?
No, surely. Actually, if you take away that euphoria of the 6-8%, this is the same pricing we used to operate in 2024. And subsequently, we have been taking up price increases quarter on quarter or even once and 3 times in a year because the Forex has moved from 89 to 104. We are still priced at 94 to 95, so we still have a 10% headroom to price even more. So that's, I think, the negative part of the story. But right now, with what the industry was going through, you see the CAGR, it was all flattening out. This measure couldn't have come at a more appropriate time. So I think the entire industry, including us, we decided we will postpone the increases further, but right now pass on the GST benefit to the customer and revive demand significantly.
So what, before I get Mohit to comment, so what should we realistically expect now in terms of industry growth, as well as you gave us a number for yourself saying you expect double-digit growth. Industry-wise, what would you expect? So
CM has revised its projection from 2 to 3% to 4 to 5%, so at least doubling it. India is a 4.3 million car market, so a 2% growth is 70-80,000 cars. So that's significant in the next 3 to 4 months' time. We had this backlog, and we could see signs of slowing down a bit in the second quarter of this year. So I think coming back from those era and to have a full year impact of 2 to 3% more, I think it's significant.
Well, we look forward to hearing more from you, Santosh. I'll come back to you in just a second. Mohit, let me come to you. For the entire FMCG basket as well, the cut has come at a time when the government is trying to boost consumption. Unlike auto, it may not necessarily result in the kind of drastic cuts that Santosh is being able to offer on his cars. But, most items come down to the 5% bracket as far as FMCG is concerned. What do you now expect in terms of demand pickup?
No, I think this is going to definitely improve the demand and the consumption. I think FMCG, the kind of cuts that you see, for example, there is a 1 rupee price point, which hails in India, which contributes to around 20-30% of the consumption, bringing it down to 93 paise. In absolute terms, doesn't mean much. If you translate into number of crores for a Indian market, it's 2 lakh crore.
Yeah.
That is the kind of substantial impact it will have, which is what PM Modi also mentioned. So I think the sentiment is going to improve. Because of the sentiment, the demand is going to improve. Because of demand, investments are going to improve. Because of investments, I think the employment is going to improve. And Indian economy is really going to benefit. That's what I feel. In terms of tangible numbers, if you ask me to illustrate it, in India, the middle class accounts for roughly around 50 crore consumer base in the country, and this is coming at a time when consumption was extremely sluggish in urban India, and urban is comprised of middle class. This 50 crore consumer base is expected to go up to around 70 crore by 2030. So huge improvement in the middle class segment in the Indian industry is there. And this improvement or this reforms is going to only improve the consumption. Let me take an example of a 25,000 rupee earning household per month. Now, approximately 1,000 rupees to around 800 rupees on a 25,000 rupees earning household is the impact. So the annual impact, if I look at the income tax reform, direct taxes and indirect taxes, this impact is going to be around 17 to 20,000 rupees on a 1.5 lakh earning household for the whole year. Yeah. This is substantial, which is going to translate itself in a consumption boost, in my view.
Well, that certainly is the hope. But, you were talking about that 93 paise price point now. And what are you going to do about that? So are we likely to see more changes as far as the grammage is concerned, especially on these low-ticket items?
Yeah, so India reigns with these magical price points, which you call, they are really magical price points. So 1 rupee, 5 rupee, 10 rupee, 15 rupee, 20 rupee price points. And they contribute to good around 40 to 50% of the overall consumption of the entire basket of SKUs that you sell. So sometimes, when a consumer comes to a retail outlet, he says he doesn't want a particular brand. And rural economy is like 60% of the total consumption. So he says, "Mujhe 10 rupees wala pack de dijiye." And he doesn't talk about a brand at all. So therefore, these are magical price points. So these magical price points cannot be breached. And therefore, in the beginning, we are trying to take it down to around 93. But eventually, it will lead to a commensurate grammage increase in these SKUs, yes.
Okay, so grammage increase is what we're likely to see across the board. I'm coming back to you, Mohit, in just a second. But let me get Mr. Vaidyanathan into the conversation as well. All of this is probably or hopefully going to result in increase for credit requirement. At the bank, how are you seeing all of this play itself out? What's the target that you're working with? What's your expectation?
Okay, first of all, I want to tell Santosh something, man. Come on, do better, man. 2 to 4%.
Do better? How much better? How much better do you want him to do?
I mean, it's talking about 2 to 4%. It looks so low. Come on, Santosh, do better, man. Come on, this is a stage for you, and you should do something better, okay? So that's that. So,
Santosh, are you taking up this challenge? Are you going to be able to do better?
Yeah, the RBI has already reduced interest rate thrice, I believe, this year. So now up to the banks, reduce more, we go by 10%.
He's thrown the ball back in your court.
the banking system has, of course, reduced interest rates, but you better do more sales activities and create the markets, okay?
He'll definitely offer a better deal to it.
This is a virtuous cycle that needs to move.
So, no, really, first, the GST 2.0 impact itself, let me just say that about ICRA estimates, SBI research estimates, IDFC research estimates, all are pointing out to a consumption lift-off of close to about 2 lakh crores. Banking system credit on that could be something like, again, by research, is about 1.7 to 1.8 lakh crores. And that could mean about a 10% increase in a growth rate sense, which means that last year, if whatever the growth rate for the country would be, it would be plus 1% is our real estimate. That's very significant, considering that the banking system overall credit is about 180 lakh crores. So that's quite significant. Secondly, where is the growth going to come from?
Exactly. That's what I was going to come to.
Yes, where is the growth going to come from? So this growth is going to, as you know, the biggest, there are two kinds of cuts have happened here. One is the essential items, like food, paneer, milk, etc., which has all come from 5% to 0%. Now, these were consumption items that people are anyway consuming yesterday without the GST of 5%, will consume tomorrow also. Which is a good thing in its own sense in terms of segment it addresses. But the significant one is going to come from the consumption cuts, the one that has come from 28% to 18%. Now, car prices are down like 10%, or will be down 10%. 10% for 10 lakh rupee car is 1 lakh rupees, big money. Let me give you how much it may translate to as an EMI to a normal person.
Yes, yes.
So if you think of a 10 lakh rupee car, which will now cost 9, assuming a loan amount of, say, 7 lakh rupees, and EMI earlier would have been, say, 16,500 rupees. Now EMI will be 14,500. So 2,000 rupees per person per month for 60 months is the reduction in people's EMI. On top of this, like Santosh pointed out, interest rate also came down.
Yeah.
So interest around product cost good down. So both things are actually very significant. And I think this is a material moment. And when we said the other factors that government also reduced the income tax rate, so all three things, interest rate, that one, this one put together, I really believe that 27 will be a lift-off year.
27 will be a lift-off year.
Yes, 27 will be a lift-off year.
So, the banking sector has already had a very good run. When you say 27 is going to be a lift-off year, what could that mean in terms of profitability?
Actually, profitability at 27 will be very good in my opinion, because see this 26 is kind of suppressed because of the the repo rate that got passed on. Some more will get passed on this quarter, etc. But all that will become base case. The microfinance issue that happened, all that will become base case. So all that will become base case. So 27 will be, coming off, let me say, a low base, so to say. So in a profitability sense, I'd say that not just credit growth should look better. I believe that the profitability also should look meaningfully better next year. At least for our bank, you should expect that we should look meaningfully better in 27 over 26.
That's the headline. Vaidyanathan says 27 is going to be a lift-off year, but
meaningful improvement.
meaningful improvement. But we were talking about interest rates, and I'll get Mohit and Santosh to comment on that as well. We've got the MPC coming up. What's the expectation? Status quo or a cut?
Before you call Santosh in, Santosh should commit to a
He's not letting you go. He's not letting you go, Santosh.
I mean, 2 to 4% is so disappointing, Santosh. You have to do better.
Just to clarify,
you don't grow.
No. He's clearly in the market to buy a Mercedes. Right?
Surely. No, but it was on an annualized basis. I still said double-digit growth for the next 4 months and moving on. So, but for the full year effect, I said.
Okay, thank you. That sounds better to us.
Just to clarify.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
But on the MPC, what's the expectation?
No. See, we got to wait and watch actually, because could come down, could be wait for a while. So this is not there's a bigger important is a cycle. The cycle in which we are in, that's more important.
Yeah, and the cycle suggests that it is definitely accommodative.
Accommodative, and could be coming down also. Now it's anybody's guess. It's 25 basis points, yes, no, neutral. We are looking at this yearly cycle playing through, and already 100 basis points cut, CRR cut, some CRR cut is going to play out this quarter, next quarter. So that's why I feel more bullish about 2027.
So liquidity, ample liquidity in the system?
Liquidity is no problem at all. Deposits also not a problem. At least our bank is growing deposit 20% plus. So deposits also not a problem. So when you grow deposit, it gives you good license to grow loans. But I can say for the banking system as a whole, I think this is probably the year in which whatever negative we had to factor is factored. I think next year should be better.
Santosh, let me come back to you now. Let's talk a little bit about, since we're talking about the reforms and the road ahead. What we are seeing at this point in time is also a move to try and ink as many FTAs as possible. The EU-India FTA, which has, of course, been long in the making. The expectation is that we could perhaps get to some sort of a conclusion as far as negotiations are concerned by the end of this year. Will that materially change your plans for India, from India?
No, for sure. We as multinationals have always advocated free trade, fundamentally because we feel that the economic growth is significant whenever the borders open up. And it's just not about the tariffs, it's also about harmonizing the regulations, for example, between countries. So, and I think Indian automotive industry has also come out of age. So the access to bigger developed markets which has money in their pocket to sell and export grows. As far as we are concerned, surely today more than 90% of the cars we sell in India are locally produced. So they hardly have a 15% tariff when it comes to parts and components. So that won't change. The 5%, which is our CBUs, which is all those exotic cars, the G-Wagons, the Maybachs, there is a lot of expectation and anticipation that prices may come down. But in the real sense, we would say no, because...
You're disappointing him again.
No, we need to see that by this time this materializes. Already there is a 10% gap between the pricing and the euro. Plus, on top of it, from a contribution perspective as well, the challenge for India is we don't get allocations. There is much more demand on these cars. Some of these cars even have waiting period running to an year. So what would improve is customers would get better access to cars much faster. We may get even much more cars allocated to India once the FTAs happens. But in the larger scheme of things, I think two-way trade will go significantly higher. That opens up new opportunities for us as well to look at India differently. We have been 30 years in India. We call it strategic patience, been there. But I think also from numbers, in these 30 years, we sold more than 2 lakh plus Mercedes-Benz. The 1 lakh Mercedes-Benz has been sold in last 6 years. So that's the kind of demand and the uptick now that we see. So an FTA.
So when do you expect to sell the next 1 lakh Mercedes-Benz? How much do you believe you're going to be able to crunch the timeline down to?
It depends on all the forecasts. I think we have to look at all the factors in, and this is where the forex is one aspect where we are not able to put a finger in, and that's will go back to because a 5% increase in price will take us back to pre-GST 2.0 pricing. So we are back to square one. So this is something, and that may happen as early as 1st of Jan next year, because we will not be able to hold on to the pricing. So this is
because of the rupee depreciation.
The rupee depreciation. So I think on the other side we have enablers like FTAs, which by end of the year, if it concludes, and maybe it takes another 12 months for a trickle-down effect to come in, that's a positive side. So we have been strategically patient, will continue to be there, and the hope is positive for sure.
Well, strategic patience, that's a new term that we've heard here from Santosh, Iyer. But Mohit, you were talking about this virtual cycle, and I think that's the question that the government is also asking, that look, we've done the heavy lifting now by way of the income tax cuts, by way of the GST rate cuts. It's time for industry to go out there and do some batting on the front foot. What kind of capacity utilization are you currently looking at? Are you looking to set up fresh capacity given the kind of demand expectation and demand visibility that you have?
Yes, Shereen. So we expect the demand actually to move up by at least to 500 to 600 basis points going forward next year. And next year is going to see a real boost in consumption and the demand, and which is going to have a trickle-down impact on the investments. So just to illustrate an example, the demand boost happened. We put up a capacity of around 1,000 crore in Madhya Pradesh around 4 years back, and we are at almost like 70 to 80% capacity utilization. So what the GST, another dimension to the GST reforms has happened is that we used to get GST benefits in a lot of places where we used to put up our manufacturing locations. For example, Tezpur or the backward areas, we used to set up manufacturing locations. With the GST rates now reducing from 18% to 5%, that is no more valid. Okay. So it calls for capacity relocations from one plant to the other plant. For example, in Tezpur, we end up losing something like around 100 crores per annum of the benefit that we get out of GST. So it calls for a relocation from a GST from a Tezpur to a south of India.
Oh, okay.
So besides the augmenting of demand and the consumption and the investments which will go up and the employment which will go up, that will call for capacity installations. There will be relocations of capacities also which will happen for a lot of FMCG companies that I know, which are availing the benefit. So that's a little flip side, but we have to work around the same. Yeah.
Yes, and I guess many will have to navigate that. We've got Rajiv Memani, the president of the Confederation of Indian Industry, here, and we're gonna ask him to join the panel in just a second. I would imagine that you were out buying a Mercedes-Benz, because Santosh Iyer was basically talking about the fact that his dealerships are completely chock-a-block, which is why Rajiv has managed to come to us a little later than we had when we had expected. But
and Vaidyanathan has managed to get a great hard bargain from him, at least 10-15%.
Not yet. He's trying.
But
he's trying. Maybe by the end of the panel. Maybe by the end of the panel.
No, let me just tell you the reality. Okay, I'm not in market buying Mercedes, but over the weekend, really, I'll give a real case. Okay, over the weekend, I actually tried purchasing a car which is the sub 10 lakh category, because the weekend driving, small parking, easy stuff. So the person actually told me, and Santosh is interesting, that he said that it is a small car. And he said that the GST benefit you're going to get, I'm going to give you upfront, even though the GST cuts have not come. So how are they managing that, really?
You have touched a super touchy topic. There is something called cess,
yes.
And the dealers are really grappling with, because the government has said that they can't compensate this cess as of now. There are still deliberations on, and that's the reason the dealers, to offset the cess balance, are just throwing away cash. So it's something that the dealers are trying to push, along with some OEMs also encouraging to give this benefit. But it is going below the balance sheet, and it will hit for sure the profits.
Yeah, in fact, the Association of Dealers, FADA, has raised this concern with the CBIC and with the government, but at this point in time, there hasn't been any agreement on the way forward, but perhaps we will hear more. Rajiv Memani, welcome to Reforms Reloaded. Thank you very much for joining us here. So were you out shopping?
Yeah, I'll keep quiet. But I was certainly not shopping.
You were certainly not shopping. But what's the view coming in from CII, Rajiv, at this point in time, in terms of confidence, in terms of demand, in terms of investments, on the back of the measures taken by the government?
So I think just from a CII perspective, I think we have mentioned this. I think this is a really far-reaching reform. CII has been requesting the government on this for the last year or so, year and a half. I know government has also been working on this, but what they have come out with is far more comprehensive than what anyone expected. The time frame with which it has come, the clarity with which it has come, and also it's not just rate reduction, but it's also a structural reform. So, 2 rates simplifies things a lot. Otherwise, there was a multiplicity of rates. Ensuring that, they are now setting up the appellate tribunals. They are now committed to set up a national appellate authority. So I think if I look at the overall package, and without actually putting in any legal requirement to say on anti-profiteering, I think nudging the industry, and to industry's credit, I think industry after industry have come out and voluntarily saying that we'll be passing on the benefit, which I think makes sense from an industry perspective also, is great. CII is very hopeful that with the kind of, at least the feedback that we are getting from our members, is that the various soft signals that you get, number of people visiting websites, number of people going to dealer stores, I mean, he'll have a much better idea of that. The soft signals that we are getting is that it's lined up for a very positive 1 month, and I think it coincides very well with Navratris today. So I think overall I would say it's very positive, and hopefully the investment climate, which had, because of the geopolitical things and geopolitical uncertainty, it had got mired a bit. Hopefully this gives the impetus for people to look at investing, because eventually for the government to accede to a lot of the requests that industry is making to make India more competitive, from an industry standpoint, I think it has to lead to more investments as well. Because unless you don't have more investments, the entire thing of greater manufacturing in India, greater economic value added in India won't happen. So Shereen, we are very hopeful. I think that this will not only lead to greater consumption in the short term, but also it will lead to overall it has to lead to revival of investment activity. That's very critical from a country standpoint, and also for, as an impetus to future reforms that we will see. And also the way it's been done, I also, we've not talked much about it, but I think also from a macroeconomic standpoint, I do believe that the government has balanced this very well. I do anticipate that they will look at other forms of incremental revenues to make up for this, at least in the short term.